Hi everyone! Welcome back to my channel. I'm MJ James, a queer and neurodiverse author of science fiction and fantasy. Today, we're going to explore one of my favorite aspects of storytelling: building vivid fantasy worlds and creating immersive settings. So, why is world building important? Well, world building is the foundation of fantasy. A rich, well-developed world pulls readers in, making them feel like they're living in your story. But just creating a fantasy world isn't about just geography or magic systems. It's about crafting a living, breathing place that enhances your plot and your characters. So in this video, we'll break down the core elements of world building, explore techniques for adding depth, and share tips for keeping your readers immersed. Let's dive in. So what are some core aspects of world building? One is geography and environment. Start with the physical landscape: mountains, forests, oceans, or deserts. Does this mirror our contemporary world or specific areas of our planet, other planets, and figure out how that all relates? These elements will then shape how the society develops. So ask yourself, how do the people in this world interact with their environment? You can create your own map to help you keep track of everything. And you don't need to be an artist to do this. You can just be as simple lines and symbols and words on paper. And I find that even if I have a map just for myself, it really helps me keep track of everything within my world. And then you need to look at the culture and society of your world. When building your world, it's important to think about what are the customs and traditions and social norms. How do they differ between regions or groups? And you can think about this with historical events, religion, or economics, and how these influence daily life. Who are the societies in your world? Are there more than one? If so, how do they differ from each other? And in more contemporary fantasy, a lot of these may be along the same lines of our more contemporary society, but then how does it differ based upon the fantasy elements that you're adding in? And then you kind of need to think about the more fantastical elements, such as magic and technology. So whether your world has an intricate magic system or advanced technology, you need to define these rules. How does the magic work? Who has access to it? What are the limitations or costs? Having this all defined ensures clarity and consistency. And also as part of this, the politics and power structure. It's important to think about who holds power in your society and how this power is maintained. Are there monarchies, democracies, or something entirely unique? Consider the political conflicts that might arise and how this would impact then your characters and the history of your world. So here's some techniques for adding depth to your world. You can create histories and myths. So a detailed history gives your world authenticity. You can write key events like wars, alliances, or natural disasters. You can add myths and legends and give your world a sense of mystery and depth. Also think about building unique languages or dialects. Even small touches like unique sayings or slang can make a culture feel real. You don't have to create an entire language, but think about how speech patterns vary. However, be careful with this also. If your characters do speak in their own language, it may immediately alienate your reader. There needs to be a balance between the two worlds, the one you create and the one your reader comes from. Think about designing flora and fauna. Introduce creatures and plants that exist only in your world. How do they interact with the environments and the people? For example, what if a specific plant was crucial for healing, but it was nearly extinct? What type of creatures are there? Say you are creating a world with dragons it's also important to know about your dragons and make sure the readers understand how dragons work within your world. You can't just say dragons or vampires and expect them to understand the rules of those, because they aren't universal, even if the fantasy term is universal. Create immersive settings and descriptions. You know the old adage, show, don't tell. It's cliche advice, and it isn't always right, or at least as simple as it seems. However, naturally including in world building while you're writing will help minimize info dumping on your reader. Instead of saying, "This city was bustling," describe the sounds of the vendors calling out, the smell of street food, and the press of the crowd. Engage all 5 senses to make readers feel like they're there. However, also make sure that the readers understand the world. If there is something drastically different from the reader's reality, it may be a good idea to point it out early on in the novel so they can follow along. Maybe keeping this aspect might be an air of mystery, and if that's needed, then that's something you need to consider. But if it's too alienating, the reader may never ever get to that point because they just don't understand the rules. Also, weave details into the narrative. Along the same lines of avoid info dumping, instead, reveal details organically. For example, let's say your protagonist enters a temple. Describe its towering columns and intricate carvings as they explore, rather than delivering a history lesson up front. Also, pace your descriptions. Balance is key. Too much detail can overwhelm readers, while too little detail can leave your world feeling flat. Use description to enhance important scenes without bogging down the narrative. When you're creating your fantasy world, be sure to maintain consistency and logic. You can do this by establishing rules and sticking to them. Once you set the rule for your world, whether it's how magic works or the structure of the society, be consistent. Breaking your own rules can pull readers out of the story. Also, keep checking for contradictions. Keep a reference document for your world building details, and this will help you to avoid inconsistencies like characters suddenly knowing a language that they weren't taught. Also, you can use real-world analogies. So even in the most fantastical settings, some logic should mirror real-world experiences. For example, if your world has a harsh winter climate, how do people adapt? Bring your world to life through your characters. And this can include how characters interact with your world. A fisherman's worldview will differ from that of a city merchant. Use these perspectives to showcase different facets of your world. Also reflect on world building in dialogue. Characters can reveal world details through their conversations. A casual remark about a past war or a local festival can enrich the setting without heavy exposition. Think of the personal stakes in your world. Your characters should have personal connections to the world. Maybe they're fighting to save their homelands or trying to uncover a hidden truth. This makes the world feel alive and gives readers a reason to care. So let's recap. Today, we've covered the core elements of world building, techniques for adding depth, creating immersive settings, maintaining consistency, and bringing your world to life through characters. If you would like me to go into more depth of any of these aspects, let me know in the comments down below. Remember, world building is an art. Take your time and don't be afraid to experiment. The more real your world feels to you, the more vivid it will be for your readers. What is your favorite part of world building? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you're currently building a fantasy world, I would love to hear about it. So next week, we are going to explore autistic representation in science fiction. Be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification so you don't miss it. Until next time, keep dreaming, keep writing, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!